Chosen ones, what I am about to share may surprise you, perhaps even shock you. This video has not come to you by chance. God has led you here with a purpose, a divine message crafted just for you. Have you ever felt lost in a crowd, wondering if you really matter in God's grand plan? That's exactly how Sarah felt one ordinary Tuesday morning, stuck in traffic on her way to work. As the cars inched forward, her mind wandered to a conversation she'd had with her sister the night before. How do you know if God has chosen you for something special? Welcome back to LWN Family. Today, we're diving into something that might just change the way you see your relationship with God. We're exploring 7 surprising signs that you're chosen by God. And trust me, they're not what you might expect. Before diving into this awakening, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and declare your faith by writing in the comments, "God, I got your message." This simple act will send a powerful signal to the universe and amplify the energy of this video. If you're truly among the chosen ones, stay with me till the end, because sign number 7 is absolutely mind-blowing. You see, Sarah's question is one that echoes in many of our hearts. We look at biblical figures like Moses, David, or Mary, and we think being chosen by God means receiving burning bush moments or angelic visitations. But what if I told you that God's choosing often looks more ordinary, and yet more extraordinary than we could imagine? Let's explore the first 3 signs together. Sign number 1. You feel deeply uncomfortable with where you are. Remember Joseph in Genesis? Before he became second in command in Egypt, he was thrown into a pit by his brothers, sold into slavery, and imprisoned on false charges. Talk about uncomfortable. But here's the surprising truth. That discomfort you're feeling? It might just be God's GPS system, redirecting you to where He needs you to be. Like Sarah in our story, maybe you're feeling that holy restlessness, that sense that there's something more. Jesus Himself said, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit." John 15:16. Sometimes being chosen means feeling like a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit, because God's preparing you for a different picture altogether. Sign number 2. You face opposition that doesn't make sense. Have you noticed that whenever you try to step out in faith, obstacles seem to multiply? Here's something fascinating. In the Bible, opposition often wasn't a sign to stop. It was confirmation you were on the right path. Think about Nehemiah rebuilding Jerusalem's walls. The more he progressed, the more his enemies plotted against him. Yet, every attack only proved he was doing exactly what God had chosen him to do. What then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:31. Sign number 3. You have a heart that keeps breaking. Now, this might sound strange, but stay with me. Having a heart that breaks for the things that break God's heart is a profound sign of being chosen. It's not about constant sadness. It's about holy discontent. Remember when Jesus looked over Jerusalem and wept? His heart broke for His people. That same divine compassion often marks those chosen by God. Maybe you can't ignore the homeless person others pass by. Perhaps you lie awake thinking about unreached people groups or troubled youth in your community. Sarah discovered this truth one rainy morning when she couldn't stop thinking about the new colleague who seemed to be struggling with depression. While others saw an unfriendly face, she saw someone in pain. And that's when she began to realize. Sign number 4. You feel inadequate for the task. Here's something that might shock you. Feeling completely inadequate for what God's calling you to do is often a sign you're exactly where He wants you. Moses stuttered. Gideon was hiding in a wine press. Peter was impulsive. Yet God chose them all. Paul put it perfectly in 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. When you feel least qualified, that's often when God's power shines brightest through you. Sign number 5. You keep finding yourself in the right place at the right time. Have you ever had those coincidences that seem too perfect to be random? Like Esther being in the palace for such a time as this, God often positions His chosen ones strategically. These divine appointments aren't accidents, they're assignments. Remember how Sarah's traffic delay that morning led her to arrive at work exactly when her struggling colleague needed someone to talk to? Sometimes, even our inconveniences are God's perfect timing. Sign number 6. You're learning to hear His voice in the ordinary. This sign is subtle, but profound. Being chosen by God often means developing an ear for His whispers in everyday moments. It's not always about burning bushes. Sometimes it's about burning questions in your heart that won't let go. 1 Kings 19 tells us how Elijah discovered God wasn't in the wind, earthquake, or fire, but in a gentle whisper. Like Samuel, you might be learning to say, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." 1 Samuel 3:10. Sign number 7. You're growing through your failures. Here's perhaps the most surprising sign of all. Your failures aren't disqualifying you, they're preparing you. Peter denied Jesus 3 times, yet became the rock upon which Christ built His church. Your struggles and setbacks might be the very things God uses to shape you for His purposes. Remember that conversation Sarah had with her sister? It led her to realize something beautiful. Being chosen by God isn't about being perfect. It's about being perfectly positioned for His purpose. Family, if you're seeing these signs in your life, take heart. God doesn't choose the qualified, He qualifies the chosen. Your doubts, struggles, and even your failures don't disqualify you. They might just be evidence that you're exactly where God wants you to be. Before we close, I want you to remember this. Being chosen isn't about being superior. It's about being available. It's not about having it all together. It's about letting God put the pieces together His way. Take a moment today to reflect on these signs in your life. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And remember to subscribe to LWN for more content that helps you grow in your faith journey. And Sarah? That ordinary Tuesday became extraordinary when she realized God had chosen her not despite her ordinary life, but because of it. He had positioned her perfectly to be his hands and feet to someone who needed him. What ordinary moment might God be using to reveal his extraordinary purpose for you? Until next time, this is LWN, reminding you that you are chosen, you are loved, and you are called for such a time as this.